It's 1077 The Bone. Baby Huey here, and joining me right now is a frontman I have been a fan of for a very long time, the man himself, Chuck Billy from Testament. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Just winding down here to the last few shows of the tour. Getting ready to come end the Bay Strikes Back in our own backyard down there in San Jose. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, yeah, as you just said, the Bay Strikes Back tour featuring you guys in Testament, Exodus, Death Angel will be at the San Jose Civic Auditorium this Saturday, October 15th. For tickets, more info, you can go to testamentlegions.com, also axs.com, and I'll have all the links posted at 1077thebone.com. So, yeah, Chuck, let's get right into it. You just told me a second ago before we hit record, you flew down. Was it from Canada? Now you're in Southern California?
Yeah, sitting on the beach.
Nice. So, yeah, how's this? I guess it's just technically the third leg, I want to say, because I think it was a year ago, Thanksgiving time, you guys played the Fox in Oakland, and that was like the initial run through the States and whatnot. And then you guys did it again in April. And now here we are at the end of the summer, early fall. Is this, so yeah, the third leg of this whole thing?
It's the third leg. We started this February 2020 before the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. That was when we first started the Bay Strikes Back with both Exodus, Death Angel across Europe. And
Mm-hmm.
we all came home sick with COVID that March when everything shut down. And then, of course, took a 2-year break and fired it back up again in April. And we did some shows over the summer in Europe with both bands. And here we are back in America doing the second leg. And, we've been out promoting, all three bands, Bay Area style thrash metal. And that's kind of what we've been like pushing across the world. And it's been pretty awesome, and it's pretty exciting that we're going to end this whole thing back home in the Bay Area where it all began.
Yeah, so I am looking forward to this. First off, thank you for making it a Saturday night. I think that's the best way to end this tour back home. So yeah, it's going to be this Saturday night. Big hometown show. I'm curious, man. I just got to know, how big's your guest list for this show? I'm sure there's a lot of people hitting you up or your wife for tickets for this night.
It's crazy. It's always hometown is the craziest. But a lot of our friends know that it's going to be crazy. So a lot of our friends and families, they support the band and they're going to be there just celebrating, this show. And we just played like 6 shows across Canada. Canada was great. And we're getting down to California and we're like, okay, California better step up because Canadian fans were just crazy. And we had some amazing shows on this tour. So we're looking for big things here in San Jose.
Well, I'm looking forward to it because I saw, yeah, today's your day off. And then literally for the next 4 days, there's no off days. It's like show after show after show. So really, this Saturday, you're going to end on a bang. But also, I'm sure it's going to be just like, breathe a sigh of relief, like I'm done and get some rest now.
It is, but we asked for it. It's taken 2 years off because of the pandemic. Just like everybody else, we wanted to get back to work. So we filled our schedules with a lot of dates away from home a lot since April.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's going to be nice. You're right. We're going to get home Saturday after that last song and that last note is played and everybody's going crazy. It's going to be like, oh, we did it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll be beautiful just getting to enjoy the holidays with the family, just taking a little bit of time to ourselves again.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing you in person. I think the last time you and I saw each other, I believe it was Record Store Day when Metallica did the Record Store performance in Berkeley over
Yeah.
at Rasputin's there. You and I were inside there, and I did a quick selfie with you, so thank you again for that. But also, and God, look what's happened since, and so much craziness. But I do remember when the announcement finally came out. I think he did it with Zetro on his YouTube show, or you guys made a big deal making the announcement, starting in Europe, and everyone's excited to see you guys come back to the States. But I'm curious, how did this tour come together? Whose idea was it? I wonder, is this kind of in response to Metallica when they did the Big Four, and these are like the other Bay Area bands who want to do something? So yeah, how this whole tour came to be?
Well, I think it was a little bit of everybody. We've all toured at one time with each other, but not all three. We've
Mm-hmm.
all played festivals, at the same day. but not all together. So we've always talked about, look, we got to go out and do a tour together, all of us, and represent the Bay Area. That's kind of what it was about. And, it just took finally getting all three agents together and saying, okay, let's make this happen. Let's call our agent and let's just make it happen. So it was planned out well ahead of time, and we all had open schedules. We all had new records coming out, so the timing was right. And from the get go, from the very first show we did with the guys, it was like playing a hometown show because you're really comfortable. You know all the bands, you know all the crew, you know everybody. It's just like being at home, but we're traveling the world playing a home show. So it was very very cool, and we've covered a lot of ground, promoted Bay Area thrash metal, and yeah, it's something that now that we look back and go, I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we finally did this because this last show, I don't think it's going to happen anymore. I think we've done two legs in America. We might probably do Japan or something like that, but in the States and Europe, I think we're done. You know.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, no, like you said, it's really special. As you know, like Metallica is Metallica, but here in the Bay Area, you guys, Exodus, Death Angel, all have a special place in our hearts for what not only you mean for Bay Area thrash metal, but just we all love you guys. You guys are just amazing musicians and all that stuff. And like I said, it's really cool. And I've heard you do some other interviews. It's nice because usually when you go on tour, you're with other bands you may not know as well, or that's your way of getting to know them on the road. So with that being said, it must be just really easy. He's like, oh, hey, well, what's up, Mark? Or yeah, hey, Gary, what's going on? You guys should jump on the bus and do your thing. So with that being said, any tour highlights so far since? It must be pretty crazy with all you guys knowing each other already and being friends. But yeah, anything that sticks out so far?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's been a lot of days. Me and Zet, we do our morning walks. We'll go out and we'll walk 5 miles. Try to get our walk in. We brought Zed up on stage a few special shows. He just came on stage in Calgary, and we sang "Alone in the Dark" together. And that's
Nice.
songs that he wrote when he was in this band,
Mm-hmm.
Legacy. So, but there's been a lot. There's just a lot of times we've seen the world together. We hung out. We went to coffee shops, had coffee all over the world, and it's definitely a good memory put in the books. It's going to go down in history for us because we actually were like, since that Murder in the Front Row movie came out and the book and everything, we were all just kind of talking, saying, man, it's funny that movie, but here we are. We're three bands with 35 plus years living that movie. We're still Murder in the Front Row, traveling the world, performing, making records still, I think even better than what we did when we started.
Yeah, with that being said, I hope Harold O is front row taking photos of you guys this weekend. I hope he's documenting all this. So
Will be. And we've actually talked about maybe some of the people that made the movie Murder in Front Row. We met them in New York, and we're talking about like this is such a shame that we're not documenting this. So we're still trying to pull off a last minute, possibly filming the show, interviewing fans, interviewing the bands, and take it after this tour's over, just to maybe put a documentary together about what we're still doing because we are still out doing what we love to do, representing the Bay.
oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely look forward to that. If you guys can able piece that together, I think if anything, the last show, that'd be, I think, a good way of kind of coming together and celebrating, the end of this big run here in the hometown in the Bay Area. So no, I definitely look forward to that. But he also did mention, new album come out. So yeah, Titans of Creations. It is out now. Did come out in 2020 originally, which, as you said in interviews, you wanted to get something out there for the fans during the shutdown, the initial shutdown. Is it kind of weird though that like, okay, it's been over 2 years, but now you're finally playing a tour in support of it, and realistically, you guys have been doing new music or new albums every 3 to 4 years. So it's like, are you like, here we are. This album's been out a couple years already, but like, is it like, okay, we gotta get a new album out again soon?
We're talking about that. That's right after this tour. We're taking like 4 or 5 months off, and we're going to work on the new record because we have, we had the choice to hold back on releasing the record. We all thought when the pandemic hit, we'll all be back to work in 3 or 4 months, and of course, it turned into years. So, but it was still great that people got to have something new in their life during time stuck at home. But on the beginning of this leg, we did release the DVD. We did a playthrough of the whole Titans record with Gene Hoglan. This is kind of a last performance with us, and we have an old box set that they used to make like in the 80s and 90s that we released. That's really really cool. So you can watch it in the bars or have it at parties and watch us perform the record, which is very cool. And a lot of fans on this tour were lucky enough to get signed copies of that. We only have 6,000 of them available, and we're down to like our last 500. So
Oh,
something to look forward to pick up that we carry on the road.
okay. So is that only available at the shows?
It's available online through Nuclear Blast.
Okay.
I don't know how many they have left. We started out the tour with 1,000, and we're down to maybe a 400 of them left. So
Hey.
probably get rid of those in LA and hopefully in the Bay Area as well. So just get a chance. Don't miss out.
Okay, cool. No, definitely. Another reason why I need to go to the show, get this really exclusive special edition of your guys' latest record. But as you did mention, you're going to take some time off, but then get into the process of writing new music. As we all know, earlier this year made the big announcement, Dave Lombardo, legend, is in Testament now. Is the plans for him to record new music as well with you guys?
Yeah, we've talked about it on tour here. Dave's plays in the Misfits and some other things, Mr. Bungle and stuff, and so we just had to check his schedule. But he's open for this time break to work with us. So right after the first of the year, he'll come up to the Bay Area and we'll just start going at it. And we don't have nothing in the books till April, so that gives us a good 4 months to get a lot of songs written. Hopefully, we can get in the studio and start tracking them. But it all depends. I mean, sometimes we write a record quick, and sometimes it takes years. So, but last time we did work with Dave, they created some songs pretty quick, and they went right to it. So I'm hoping that's the case on this next record.
Okay, and then I heard you in another interview say you're thinking about maybe doing his album that he recorded with back in 98, 99, The Gathering, like maybe a club show or something. Is that still something you would like to do at some
Yeah,
point with Dave?
yeah. I talked to our agent because actually that was the first conversations we had with Dave when we seen each other, like at an airport or a festival. It's like, man, wouldn't it be fun to go perform the Gathering record? And he's like, yeah, we should do that someday. So now that he's jamming with us, that opportunity is right here. So I did call our agents and say, look, it'd be fun to do some special one-off shows, small club, real intimate, and just play that record. You know,
Okay.
something cool. So that'll probably happen sometime. It'll just be maybe a few special shows, or maybe East Coast, West Coast, Southern Cal. Just a couple few shows.
Okay, sweet. And I look forward to that if and when that does happen in the near future. With that being said, talking about new music, I know in some other interviews you talked about wanting to do a solo album. I know you say you definitely want to get another Testament record out there, but at some point, would you like to find some time and work on a solo album for yourself?
Yeah, I've actually talked to over a dozen guitar players that have songs for me that they're writing and creating. But Testament takes priority first. Once I have time, it's not a big priority. It's just something I'd love to do because I've only wrote music with Eric for 35 plus years, and I want to write something and do something that's not Testament. That's totally different. I want it to be old school sounding, dry drums, no samples, no triggers. Like the old vinyls we used to have when we were younger. I just want it to be raw and real. One take kind of stuff. So that's in the books, and
Okay.
I'm slowly working on that, but that'll be down the line.
Gotcha. Okay, I look forward to that as well. And as you talked about Eric, and you've played in Testament with him for 30 plus years, 35 years, I really want to just ask you about your working relationship with him. It's really special to see what you guys have been able to do. It's really rare that like two members can be creative, work together for this long. As many bands, it's really important like who you work with, that chemistry. And some bands, they work together, but it only lasts for a few years. One leaves and the other one keeps the band going, and it's maybe not the same because that creative force, that partnership is no longer there. You guys are a really rare situation where you and Eric have been together for so long. making amazing music to this day that the fans love and adore. So, just what's the secret for you guys being able to work together for so long and just keep cranking out amazing music year after year? What is that like secret bond that you guys have? Like, why does it work for so well?
Well, I think first of all, Eric, he he always has stated the lane as testament. He's never, listened to what's like current or hip or what's going, people are playing. There's a lot of great new bands, but of course we can't copy that and be that. We're
Hmm.
testament. We have our own sound and style, which I'm fortunate that Eric's kind of never went out and like looked at and heard new bands. He listens to his old stuff that he grew up with, and I think that really makes him stay on track with writing, and we have just this certain chemistry when we work together. We know how far to push each other. We know our limitations. Um, Even like on this Titans record, there's a song like "City of Angels" on it, for example, that I at first thought, "Oh man, this song doesn't fit the record," but I was fighting it the whole way till the end, and I finally said, "You know what? Just give it to me. Let me give it a shot." And so I went and I write with a partner, Del James, down in LA. And we wrote the lyrics, and I came home and performed it the next day in the studio. And I used three different layers of vocals on that song. And I was doing something that I haven't done before on a Testament record. So I thought, wow, this is actually pretty cool. 35 plus years, right, with the same guy. I'm still trying new things. And so that to me was like, that was pretty unique. And again, Eric's already told me on the next record, he's already got some songs in his tool belt there, and he says it's going to be epic. That's the word he used. I'm like, all right, well, great. I can't wait to hear it. See what's going to come out of this epic song that you're going to give me.
Nice, right on. And for me, I've always been fascinated how different, like, over the course of time in music, specifically music history, how different genres, different music scenes develop in different parts of the world. And with that being said, we all know about your history and your connection with the Bay Area thrash metal scene, such a legendary time period for here in the Bay Area that we all love to this day, and it's been such a huge influence. So I really want to get into that a little bit as far as at the time, how did that scene really come to be? Like I'm really a fan of, like, music history in that sense. Like, how did the Bay Area get so lucky to get like lightning in the bottle and this Bay Area, this legendary scene with so many great bands over the span of over a decade at that time? How did that come to the Bay Area? How did we luck out to get that here?
Well, it happened really fast because I think when Metallica started moving up to the Bay and performing here, Slayer came up a lot. Exodus was probably the first band here in the Bay Area making, that style of thrash metal. Um, because what was interesting to me is to see that the Bay Area in the early 80s was a lot of hair metal bands.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of venues to play in the Bay Area. All the Keystones and the Rock on Broadway and the Fab Mab. And, you know, there was just so many places to play in Berkeley Square. And I think once the scene, because in those early 80s, we also had punk rock, a lot of punk rock. So I think when that thrash metal scene and bands started playing, it was taking that punk rock attitude and aggression, but making it more cohesive with the metal style guitar playing and maybe more melodic style vocals and catchier stuff than being fast and punk rock. So I think a lot of that, a lot of the Bay Area bands that were hair metal, they all left and went to LA. I mean, there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of them that split. So it kind of opened the door that a lot of these clubs needed artists. So you would get all these bands playing all over the Bay Area. And then there's a lot of bands that sprouted up: the Testaments, the Death Angels, the Forbiddens, the Heathens, the Violence. All these bands started popping up playing thrash metal, but we weren't copying Exodus. We weren't copying Metallica. Everybody kind of formed their own identity with that attitude and bringing their own style because it was so new and fresh. We didn't know. And next thing you know, there was this cool Bay Area scene that developed. And I think that Bay Area scene really carried over into Europe, which they were
Yeah.
ahead of us, I believe, because they were more into extreme music and no hair bands. So they started from where we began, and I think that's kind of the beauty of the Bay is that Slayers and all the faster bands from LA started to come up to the Bay Area because it was a cooler scene. You know,
Yeah. Well, I just now looking back in hindsight, yeah, it's easy to say how influential you guys were and how amazing that time period was and just how special it is. When you were in that moment, though, did you realize something special was going on here, or were you just so focused on like just getting to the next show, playing, and maybe I'll do this for a few years and then move on to the next phase of my life?
you
I
know,
mean, did you were you able to really enjoy it in real time?
we loved it because we didn't know what was happening. What we did know is that you would be able to go to like the Mabue Gardens and catch the first band on, and then go to across the street to the Stone to watch the band closing the night. And at the end of the show, you'd see all the same people at the shows, and then they would all carry on to the studios or Paul Bailoff's house or something. So it was like this scene that was going to clubs, playing and performing and attending and watching, being the fan base, to being this tight knit family that were at house parties, and then you had bands like Metallica playing like Spastic Children for, New Year's parties, and all that same stream of people were showing up, and it developed into this real like close family,
Yeah, yeah. No, that's I get just goosebumps because I'm gonna be 39 next month, so I was a little bit too young. I'm more of a 90s kid, and like I was a big fan of like the punk rock revival in the 90s. But with that being said, I do love thrash, and I kind of want to get your opinion on this. So, and I remember in the early to mid 2000s, I was going to a lot of shows at Gilman and Berkeley and whatnot. And for a time period, for a few years, I felt like there was like a second wave of a Bay Area thrash metal scene. I remember at Gilman and some other venues around the Bay Area, there was a lot of upcoming kids in their 20s playing thrash metal. We had and even bands from LA like Warbringer, Bonded by Blood, Municipal Waste would come through. I'm just kind of curious, if you had, I mean, I know you guys were busy doing your thing in the 2000s, making albums as well, but were you able to kind of notice like there's this like second wave of Bay Area thrash metal, and just kind of your thoughts on that scene at the time? Because I lived through it, I really enjoyed it, but then again, we always made the comparison. I wonder if this feels like back in the 80s and stuff like that. So kind of your thoughts on that time period.
Well, it made me very happy because during the 90s, when metal kind of fell off the map and kind of got kicked to the curb a little by major labels and stuff, um, it really took a hit. And there was a lot of new styles of metal branching out, from death metal to grind metal to core metal. Just all these different genres started popping out from thrash metal. And to see bands like Municipal Waste or Power Trip and a lot of
Yeah.
like this that took that style of thrash metal that was created in the 80s to a current time when, maybe it was because, the media change shifts. They got younger people writing articles that maybe missed the stuff that we all did, but they were current and hip on what's new and coming. So it really kind of opened up that window and door again. Bands like Lamb of God and stuff like that coming through, Kill Switch Engage. So it really kind of took another level again and started getting recognition. And it really helped bands like us that have been here for so long
Yeah.
get kind of a revival again. Like we had the revival back in 2005 once we had the original Testament get back together. And we haven't stopped since. We lost a couple of the original guys, health reasons, but we've still think we're 17-year-old kids making music, traveling the world.
Yeah, and it was just really cool because like I was going to shows and I see a lot of kids with the white sneakers, the denim vest and stuff. Yeah, and it was just cool. I was like, this is awesome. Like my brother and I would go to these shows together. We're in our 20s at that time. And like, this is awesome. And then I remember, when you guys came back doing your thing, I saw you guys at the Independent that one year, and it was amazing. But it was just such diverse. And when you guys played Mayhem Festival back in the day, and it was just cool that you had like the OG fans and then the younger fans. So it was just like this. It was so cool that you guys were playing, and then like you said, the metalcore bands, and like as you mentioned, I just saw Lamb of God and Killswitch Engage this past weekend at Aftershock. So it's just like it was so cool. It's such a great time period, and I love to see that you guys are still doing your thing. And it's just, like I said, I can't wait for the show this Saturday. I know you got a busy day. I just got a couple more real quick questions for you. So Johnny Z, as we all know, the man who's behind Megaforce Records, sadly passed away earlier this year. His wife Marcia the year before. I know you're really close with them. Megaforce, got Testament signed and whatnot. Just please share a few words and just what he meant to you, and just what he meant for the whole metal scene.
Well, Johnny was a visionary. I'm friends with Eddie Trunk, and Eddie Trunk worked for Megaforce Records. And I seen Eddie a few weeks back, and we were just talking about Johnny and Marcia. And Johnny was that guy. If he had something he needed to do and he said it, he was going to do it. Like when me and Eddie were talking, and he was like, Johnny, he was always talking crazy. Always had these ideas, but he said, I got this band called Metallica from California. If I can get them out here and play, I'm going to start a record company. I'm going to bring you in. And that's exactly what he did. Brought him out there, had some shows, promoted him, started a label, and there he was off and running. And all the way through his whole life, I know we left Megaforce after the first couple of records straight onto Atlantic. But over the time, me and Johnny and Marcia and my wife, we stayed in contact and became really close friends. We'd go on holidays and go stay with them, and they'd come stay with us. Mm-hmm. And I'd say maybe 5 years ago, we started a management company together. So I was talking to Johnny and Marcia every day. And we talked not just music, anything from politics to investing to whatever it was. He had an idea.
Yeah.
He had a thought, and he had an opinion. And I'm grateful to him because in 1994, we had signed, we were done with our Atlantic years in our contract, that we had no home. And so we were out like, what are we going to do? And of course, Johnny's brilliance, you guys should start a record label. Like, wow, okay, well, how's that go? And so he walked us through starting Burn Offerings Records. And we got into the world of licensing our music. And we've done that ever since 94. And that's the best thing that's ever happened to us, is we own the masters of our music since 94. And during that time, we've signed with some independent labels that actually filed bankruptcy and just fell off the map. And fortunately, we kept our masters, and we got that music survived because of Johnny. There have been a lot of music that we had lost over the years if he hadn't had that idea of starting our label. So I'm forever grateful to him for his friendship, his ideas, his energy, and, up to the last day of his life, just saying how thank you in person to him, because I went and seen him, those last few days, and told him thank you, you've been a great friend and mentor,
Well, I heard you mention in another interview you're gonna next month head to Florida for the tribute show with Metallica. So please document and put it on your Instagram so we could see it vicariously through you. One other person I want to talk about that sadly passed away in the last year, and you speaking of mentors, someone who was like a mentor to me when I started at the Bone 17 years ago, Billy Steele. God, I'm just getting a little choked up thinking about when I started the Bone, and I was an intern, obviously a fan of the Metal Zone, and, Billy, I would come back from like a station event, and he would let me come in the studio and just hang out and watch him in action, just pressing the buttons and all that stuff. And I would ask for advice. He would tell me a lot of great feedback and whatnot. And we didn't work together that long before he left the station, but we stayed in touch over the years. And I know Billy was at the Fox show last year. We talked about that, and last talked the holidays last year. Sadly passed away last year. But please just tell me your thoughts of Billy Steele, what he meant to Bay Area radio, Bay Area metal scene, and just. I mean, I can go on talking how much he meant to me, but from your standpoint, what did Billy Steele
Well,
mean to you?
it was our gateway to getting, drive time radio.
Yeah,
The drive time radio. He was a supporter of all the bands. He's always there at the shows, but even the after parties. He would be those guys that were at the parties, hanging out. And there was nothing that he wouldn't do for a band. If you asked him, "Hey Billy, I got the show or I got a record coming out. Can I get some airtime? Come on down. When are we going to do it?" And that meant the world to me, especially for the Bay Area. And I think he came at a time in the Bay Area where we didn't have anybody representing the metal flag except for him. So he's to me is like what Jose is to Sirius Radio. He's our metal ambassador for the Bay Area. He really is.
yes. Well, no, thank you for saying that. And actually, I saw Jose this weekend too at Aftershocks. It was good catching up with him. So, no, we all definitely stick together. And with that being said, I am looking forward to the big Bay Area family reunion this Saturday. The Bay Strikes Back tour with Testament, Exodus, and Death Angel this Saturday, San Jose Civic Auditorium. Get your tickets over at axs.com.
Well, if you want, I got 10 tickets I can give you if you want to give away some tickets whenever you're on the air. I got, 10 tickets, up to 20 tickets if you need them, just to get some people that are really into it. I got my permission to give them away. Contact me or through the label or our agent, and let's make that happen. Let's get this Bay Area at the show.
Okay, Chuck, let me check with my promotion director, and let's get that going. I look forward to seeing you guys this Saturday. I'll be the big, tall dude in the mosh pit going around circles. But listen, man, thank you so much for everything for you do, for, with your band, for the Bay Area metal scene, and just being cool with me over the years. And, looking forward to this show this Saturday.
Great. Well, I look forward to it. And, again, thank you. And you're our new ambassador. We're going to hold you accountable now, man. So you're representing Billy and everybody out there in the Bay Area for us. So really appreciate it, and we'll see you there in the pit.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
All right. You have a good one, and we'll see you Saturday.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.